Since 2015, Jared Stillman has rocked Nashville sports.
That team freaking stinks.
And now he's back. The takes are hotter than ever.
I mean, let's be honest, he just can't coach.
Welcome to Stillman and Company.
Stillman and Company of the 440 Sports Network. We are presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, loaded show today. We got a bunch of topics to get through. Plus, in 35 minutes, Chad Withrow from Outkick will join us. We'll get Chad's thoughts on everything from Vrabel and Russini, where that goes from here. Also, the Titans are hosting a Super Bowl. The city of Nashville is hosting a Super Bowl. Chad will join us on that, his thoughts on the Ramon Foster stuff. And I got a hot take about the NBA. I kind of want Chad's thoughts on that as well. And we've got a lot to get into, so I'm not going to waste any time. And we're just going to start by telling you about our presenting sponsor. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I am so spoiled by being a Hiller customer that when I have something done that is not plumbing, HVAC, or electrical, I get angry because it's not as easy to use. It's not as carefree as I can be like I am with Hiller, because I know they'll get the job done. That's why they have 100% satisfaction, or the service is free. 100% happy you'll be, the service is free, which means if something's not right, they'll make it right. And again, I know this because I've used Hiller at my home for years and years and years, going all the way back to when I first bought my first home in 2018. So if you're thinking about getting any maintenance done, any problems come up, you want to make sure you get that AC working before it gets really hot. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. That's Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today. Topic number one, VrabelGate. Diana and Vrabel. And there are still some tabloid takes or stories. This week, the Daily Mail had Diana at the restaurant with the hubby, with their friends, pre-gaming the Bruce Springsteen concert. So there's still going to be some fodder there. Who knows what's happening with Vrabel and his wife and their counseling. But as far as the American sports consumer is concerned, I have to ask, is this story now officially over? I was just scouring to see what people were saying yesterday, what YouTube videos were out there, and really all that was new is that a radio show in Boston had this Tony Farmer who is obsessed with this story. You think I'm obsessed with this story? This Tony Farmer is, he's going back to my tweets from 2023. I'm not even going back to my own tweets from 2023. But that's where it is now, is it's like there's this one guy, this one sleuth who's talking about. And the Patriots, of course, they want to move on. And so when it comes to the Patriots, apparently word out of Foxborough is Vrabel is back to the same Mike Vrabel he always was, thanks to a familiar face. This was Mike Reese on the CBS affiliate in Boston talking about the state of Mike Vrabel.
And I will say all indications are he is locked in, and it's the same as it ever was. Kevin Byard, the free agent safety who signed with the Patriots this year, was speaking with the media last week, Steve. And remember, he played for Vrabel in Tennessee from 2018 to 2023. And he said, you wouldn't know the difference between what he experienced with Vrabel in Tennessee and what he's seen the last 4 weeks in the voluntary offseason program. And I think that's a cue that Vrabel's locked in and coaching the team just like he did.
Nothing to see here, Kevin Byard says. I did chuckle, though, when I saw that, hey, we spoke to Kevin Byard, and Kevin Byard told us Vrabel's the same guy he was in Tennessee. So the idea Albert Breer said during the draft, Vrabel wasn't the same guy after that, that's over. He's locked in. He's ready to go. He's the same Mike Vrabel he always was. Kevin Byard was always the guy, and they don't know this yet because they're kind of new to Vrabel from the standpoint that Vrabel didn't do a lot of losing last year. So the way he's handled the adversity with this situation has been incredibly piss poor. I think they're surprised by that. We saw here when things didn't go well, Vrabel handled it really piss poor. So that's not as much of a surprise to us. They don't know Kevin Byard because Kevin Byard's new up there. Kevin Byard was always the guy when he was a Tennessee Titan. And I think this predates Mike Vrabel. But Kevin Byard was the guy that they always sent to the podium when shit was hitting the fan. Kevin Byard was the guy who put lipstick on the pig better than anybody in my tenure of covering the team. And it reminded me of when Marcus Mariota got benched. This is one of my all-time favorites. When Mariota got benched, they played at Denver. Tannehill comes in the second half. Microphones are out. They come back home. Monday is, at the time, it used to be an open locker room day. Now they just bring out 2 players. But Byard in front of the open lockers on that Monday, hey, we believe in number 8. Number 8's our guy. And we're going to roll through with number 8 because Mariota, we believe in him. We blah, 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 blah. On Tuesday night, Ian Rappaport reported that the Titans were making a change and that Ryan Tannehill was going to be the starting quarterback. On Wednesday, same reporters went in front of Byard's locker, and Byard was like, hey, we believe in Ryan Tannehill. Well, you know, we love Mariota, but we believe in Tannehill. Byard was the perfect guy, shitty moment after shitty moment, to be the guy that they would put the microphones in front of. So when Mike Reese is sitting there saying, hey, Vrabel is back to normal because Kevin Byard said so, there's a part of me that says, See, I'm still convinced Vrabel will never be the same asshole that he has been for the first 7 years of his coaching career. He'll never be able to be that guy again. And I stand by it. I think the Patriots are going to start off 1-3 this year. And then I wonder, is the Vrabel-Russini talk going to come back? But as far as this story is concerned today, can we finally put it to bed? There have been numerous times where I thought this story was over. I thought this story was over when Mike Vrabel got up there at the podium and in Vrabelese admitted to the affair without actually admitting it. But you have to know Vrabel. You have to know how he operates. You have to know how he talks. You have to know that Mike Vrabel is never, ever going to get up there and say, I did it. But I think he said, I did it in that first press conference where he talked about hurting a lot of people he cares about and everything else. So I thought it was going to be over then. Then the next day, the kissy photos came out. And everybody around the country was like, oh, shit. And then Mike Vrabel ended up taking off day 3 of the draft. And now the Today Show's involved. Now there's no way not to talk about it. And then there was the murkiness of what happened there. And then I thought the story was starting to die down. And then the boat story came out, which at the time I was a little surprised how big of a deal people were making about the boat story. Only because when it came to the boat story, I'm like, well, we knew they were having an affair dating all the way back to 2020. Why are you surprised that they were seeing each other in 2021? And then when Caroline Fenton told me, yeah, but she was 7 months pregnant. She could have popped on that boat and had her kid at Silver Point Hospital by Center Hill Lake. I'm like, well, I never thought about it like that. And that just blew up. I mean, I remember when I was getting ready to go on, I had like 50 people waiting for the show to start that day. But since then, there hasn't really been any noise. Vrabel hasn't done any interviews. Diana, in spite of the fact that the Daily Mail told us that Diana was ready to tell her story, Diana has not done any of that. We've had 2 stories. We had the kissy photos, Diana and Kevin Goldschmidt, her husband, on Mother's Day, which a lot of people seem to think are fake. And then we had the Daily Mail story that came out over the weekend of Diana at the Springsteen concert. And what's crazy is after all the shit that Dianna Russini talked about her husband over the years, The fact that people were wondering, like, is that kid her kid? Or, well, we know it's her kid. Is that kid Vrabel's kid? Nobody seems to care whether or not Russini and her husband are getting together, which makes me think this is more of a Vrabel story than anything else. But I don't know what could come out that would bring this story back up other than that being her kid. Or I keep saying her kid. We know it's her kid. Other than that being his kid, and that would be really fucked up. I mean, it's kind of fucked up that he named his kid Mike. But still, that, I'm starting to think this story's over. And what's funny is Jim Rome. I'm going to get on Kuharsky's ass here in a second. But Jim Rome, last week when the schedule came out, Jim Rome said that he thinks the reason the Patriots and Seahawks are playing in week 1 is because the NFL wants to ride the Vrabel story and get the ratings from it. Again, everybody else is getting ratings and clicks and views and everything else. Why would the NFL be any different? They want to renegotiate their rights. How do you do it? You blow the cover off the ball with your TV ratings. And Mike Vrabel, coming off of a scandal that has made its way to the Today Show, certainly could help that. And I certainly think that when the games get played, this will come up. Because, again, Mike Reese is saying, hey, he's the same old Mike Vrabel. But do we know that? Like, we need to see them play in order to be able to know that. And so then it kind of comes back up a little bit. And if they start off 1-3 or 2-6 or something like that, then it's really going to be a story. But I think right now, I think the story's dead. I think people have moved on. And I do think part of this goes back to the dead time of the year and the fact that, quite frankly, the gossip and the commentators are just as popular as the players in the games. Stephen A. Smith every single day is getting into this war with Jaylen Brown. But that's the kind of stuff people care about. So that's the first thing. As far as Vrabel's concerned and VrabelGate is concerned and everything else, that's the first thing, which is I think this story might be over. And I don't know what could come out other than public paternity that says that's Vrabel's child. I don't know what could possibly come out that would change anything or that would reignite this story other than the Patriots starting the season off with a losing streak. So that's the first thing. The second thing, the Titans today held an event to celebrate the fact that, or I guess the city of Nashville at Nissan Stadium held an event to celebrate the fact that we're getting the Super Bowl 3.5 years from now, and that's great. Amy Adams Strunk did not speak at the event, which I think is kind of telling. And I just got such a kick out of today how Jim Wyatt, as soon as it started, was like, Eric Church is here. Okay. Like, okay. Eric Church, ladies and gentlemen. That's who's going to play right guard for the Titans? I don't know, but Eric Church is here. Great. You know, you could probably find those guys at the grocery store. This is Nashville. Now, Jim Nantz did say that he thinks Nashville is going to be in the rotation. I think that is meaningful because I do think that Jim Nantz is pretty, you know, I think Jim Nantz is pretty good at talking to people who matter. So I think that was noteworthy. Eric Church. Woo! Eric Church. The owner doesn't even speak. The owner of the Predators spoke. But the owner of the Titans didn't speak. As far as the pep rallies and the patting themselves on the back and everything else for the Super Bowl, that's fine. I don't, it's great. I'm happy for our city. I don't think it needs to be an everyday discussion. So that's kind of the first thing. Again, it's all this, there's all this like extra talk about, Nashville really stepped up to the plate and they put out a report and they, did this and they put the bid together and they this and we that. And we built a $2.8 billion stadium. That's why you're getting the Super Bowl. Cleveland stinks and Cleveland's going to get the Super Bowl. The Titans story I find to be fascinating was actually said this morning on my old radio station. Paul Kuharsky of paulkuharsky.com, the local ombudsman, the guy who tells everybody all the time what to say, what to think, what to do. He gets mad if you report something and he doesn't like the way you reported it. He gets mad and trashes everything I do. And deep down inside, I know Paul listens pretty much every day. And I know that I make points that Paul sits there and says, well, shit, that's actually a good point. Hi, Paul. So this morning on 102.5, Paul was asked about Chad Brinker, as we noted yesterday on the program, the great Chad Brinker that Amy Adams Strunk for 2 years gave her football team to, in spite of the fact that he did not have a resume that said that he should be running an NFL team. Chad Brinker was unceremoniously fired, in my opinion, though he stepped down essentially twice, once on January 2nd and then once right after the draft. And on top of it, was not rehired by the Green Bay Packers, who made a bunch of front office points. The Green Bay Packers that Chad Brinker came from lost their assistant general manager to be general manager that they didn't hire. And Kuharsky was asked about that. And even though the Titans said Kuharsky wasn't fired, the Titans said Brinker wasn't fired, even though Brinker said he stepped down to get back into scouting, even though PK said, actually, yeah, he got fired. Take a look.
He's certainly on the Titans payroll.
I was just going to say, okay, well, if that's the case, I mean, it was sold publicly that he left voluntarily.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he not be on the payroll then? Was this a secret firing?
I think it was. I do.
Okay, we got more breaking news from PK.
I think I've said this before.
Yes.
I talked to somebody who knows him, who talked to him both at the combine and at the owners meeting, and he told this person that he was anticipating being fired.
Okay, so Kuharsky says Chad Brinker got fired. He said, I know somebody who knows Brinker well, who I talked to at the owners' meetings, I talked to at the combine, and they said that Brinker was anticipating getting fired. Now, I told you guys on January 2nd, when the Titans sent out a release that Mike Borgonzi was taking over the football operation, and Chad Brinker was thankful for Amy's guidance because they went to her and they said, please demote me. Bullshit. That was all horse crap, and Amy was firing Brinker because she had lost his trust because the team sucked so bad last year, and that now she's turning to Borgonzi. The same way she turned to him when she got rid of Rand Carthon. The same way that she turned to Brian Callahan when she got rid of Mike Vrabel. The same way she turned to Rand Carthon when she got rid of John Robinson. She fired Chad Brinker. And I don't know, when it comes to this story, who I am most mad at. I do not know. Am I most mad at Paul? Because Paul Kuharsky, how long has he been sitting on this that Chad Brinker's going to get fired? He said, I talked to somebody who knows Brinker very well at the owners' meetings, at the combine. That's fucking February, dude. Where was the report there? I mean, I believe that as a reporter, your job is to report. So when you get the nugget that Ramon Foster is going to be the color analyst for the Tennessee Titans, you put it out there. And I don't give a damn if that hurts Titans radio or the Titans or Ramon Foster's feelings. Now, not everybody in town feels that way because nobody in this town, I think, knows how the media works anymore. But again, if you're a reporter and you get the story, you report it. So if you had it at the combine or at the owners' meetings that Chad Brinker was getting fired, Where was the story, Paul? I mean, he waited until Rand Carthon was fired, and not 5 minutes after Rand was fired, Paul had a piece up at paulkuharsky.com just crapping all over Rand Carthon. But nothing to even say what I knew, that Brinker got fired. The Titans said Brinker didn't get fired. Brinker said Brinker didn't get fired. But you apparently have it on good enough authority to say it on the radio that Brinker got fired. So I don't know if I'm most mad at him, because, again, I said on January 2nd, Brinker's fired. And I said right then and there when they demoted, I knew in September, one of the first shows on this Stillman and Company channel was that Brinker and Borgonzi were not seeing eye to eye. And Tic Tac Titan called me a liar, like he's got any fucking sources. Tic Tac Titan called me a liar, and the Titan fans didn't want to believe it. And then I knew that it was hitting the fan when Mike Borgonzi did the press conference and called Chad Brinker a cap guy. Now, if you're the cap guy, or you're the assistant general manager in charge of the cap and the general manager calls you a cap guy, that's one thing. If you're the president of football operations and an underling calls you a cap guy, that is a sign of disrespect. I asked Borgonzi in the press conference, what the hell do you do? What the hell does Chad do? Oh, I appreciate the question, Jared. It's a very good question. You know, all organizations are kind of this way, where you have the GM and the coach and the assistant general manager cap guy, and that's what we're doing here. I'm like, so he's now the assistant general manager? He's the cap guy now? Because a month ago, he fired the coach because it was his name that was on the stationery firing Brian Callahan. It was him that did that press conference. So I knew, without knowing, without having sourcing, without, even when Brinker was still employed by the Titans, I knew he was fired. But I don't know if I should be mad at Kuharsky or if I should be mad at the entire media entity here, because there is not a single person that covers this team that reported that Chad Brinker got fired. There's not a single story that tells us this is what happened. Sources said. This goes back to when Vrabel got fired, and all the national people were reporting Vrabel's in trouble, and they didn't even ask him at the podium after the last game with those reports swirling whether or not he's going to lose the job. It's like, Nick Suss, you know I love you. That's why I'm picking you out of this group. You should have had a story the day after Brinker stepped down that basically said this is what happened, he got fired. Everybody should know that. It's the truth. Or at least it's what I believe to be the truth. And it's what Paul's sources tell him is the truth. So I'm mad at the media just like I'm mad at Paul. And I feel I can be mad at the media because when you don't follow a story like this, what you're doing is you're allowing the team to be dishonest. And you're allowing the team to lie to the fans. You got to dig, and it's going to piss the team off. It's going to make them feel uncomfortable. They're going to say you're lying. It is what it is. But that's the job. And then there's the third part of this, that it bothers me that nobody else seems to notice this or nobody else seems to care. Chad Brinker ran the Titans for 2 years. For 2 years, he was the president of football operations. If Chad Brinker isn't here, I think Mike Keith is still in the radio booth. If Chad Brinker's not here, I think there's a lot of good, hardworking, loyal Titans people like Anthony Pastrana and Brent Akers and Robbie Bourne and guys that got canned the day Chad took over that are still there. There are decisions that were made. Again, Chad Brinker had to okay the drafting of Cam Ward before they could do it because he was in charge. And now they fired him 1 year after saying, Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi are going to lead us to the promised land. And if there was tension between Brinker and Borgonzi, the guy who hired him, then doesn't that tell you that there's serious dysfunction? And when it comes to Borgonzi, you people think he's the next coming of Bill Polian, even though you guys think Bill Polian sucks. You people think he's the next coming of Bill Polian, but he was hired by Chad Brinker, who just got fired. And then there's the whole story of Bryce Wasserman. And what the fuck does he do? He's the son-in-law, but now he's going to have a bigger role. But then there's a picture of him wearing gloves and catching passes on the field. You don't want to know why your team sucks so bad? I feel like people just want to pretend that their team doesn't suck and that their team knows what they're doing and that everybody's smart, and Robert Saleh, even though he's 20 and 36, is a great coach. Cam Ward, even though he had the lowest QBR in the league, is a great quarterback. And there's nothing to see here. And then by September 13th, you people are all like, oh, this team, they stink. Oh, my God. And I'm here to tell you, like, follow the story the whole time. I just don't get it. So I'm mad at the team because for 2 years, they tried to tell us that this Brinker that they hired was so smart and so good. And every time I said, what the fuck? They're like, oh, no, you don't understand. And then they fired him. And they lied about it, reportedly. I'm mad at the media because nobody apparently except for Paul did any digging on this story. And I'm mad at Paul. Again, Paul's got his hit piece ready to go on Rand Carthon the day he gets fired, but he doesn't even write a story about the info he had on Chad Brinker. TDG says, stay on that side, Jared. Cam year 2. Trust me, Justin Graver pissed me off enough for everybody yesterday, talking about how Cam was disrespected because some chart said that Tyler Shuck, who's better at every single metric last year than Cam Ward, every single one, except for like a 6-week cherry-picked window, said it was disrespectful. I'm like, Cam needs to play better. So let's see Cam play better. But where was the media on this story? Where is the media? Again, Paul just said it on the radio. No story at paulkuharsky.com. Terry McCormick, where's your story? What's happening here? This is the president of football operations getting demoted and then getting fired. And nobody was talking about it. And finally, before we get to Chad, I have an NBA take that I am just very excited to get to. Did anybody watch basketball last night? Because I'm going to be the first one to tell you that I did not watch the unbelievable comeback by the New York Knicks against the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. And I didn't watch it because at 93-73 in the fourth quarter, I thought the game was over, and I flipped it over to YouTube, and I watched these old Saturday Night Live skits, and they were very funny. But I thought the game was over. So after I got done watching bullshit on YouTube, I flipped it over just to see what the final score was. And as I turned it over, the game was still on, and there was this ESPN melt and kind of like talking about this comeback. And it was like Mike Breen and then Landry Shamet with the big 3. And they were all Knicks highlights. And I'm like, wait a minute. I think the Knicks were just down by 20 points. And I'm sitting there on the couch. I'm like, they didn't come back, did they? And so when I had flipped it back, it was in overtime. And the Knicks were leading comfortably. And I thought, oh, my God, what in the world happened? And at that point, I was disappointed in myself for turning the basketball game off last night. I was like, oh, my God, it was in the fourth quarter. I turned it off. I was watching TV and thought the game was over. 2 nights in a row, we've got 2 conference finals. And we've had thrillers. And we've had overtime. And we've had some real stars Wembanyama is a star. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a 2-time MVP. Jalen Brunson with the Knicks. I freaking love that guy. He's such a winner. James Harden of the Cavs. He's such a loser. So here's my take today. As one of the biggest detractors that you know when it comes to the NBA, especially recently. I grew up loving the NBA. I grew up when Jordan was on the Bulls, and I loved, rooting against Kobe because I didn't want anybody to be as good as Jordan. And then I was rooting for LeBron, and then he went to Miami, and I was rooting against LeBron. And I loved basketball, especially in the playoffs. I used to have Allen Iverson shoes. I loved the NBA. And then Kevin Durant went to Golden State, and it kind of ruined the sport for me. At that point, the offseason talk was more important than the regular season talk. It was all about these super teams and these bitchy star players and where they want to go and who they want to play with and everything else. And I'm like, I can't watch this shit anymore. And yet, when it came to baseball, ESPN never talked about baseball. They never cared about baseball. First Take never did segments on baseball. Shohei Ohtani would have to hit a home run with the bat in his butthole in order for ESPN to talk about it. Meanwhile, basketball every day was like a debate about guys. I'm like, who cares? Who cares? And so I thought the NBA was dead. That the NBA spent too much time in the bathroom smelling their own poops before they even flushed them down the drain. And I just figured the players were lazy. They were entitled. Adam Silver was toothless. And there was nothing they were going to do about it. They were too busy selling sneakers, and they told themselves they were popular even though people weren't watching the games anymore because they got good numbers on Snapchat. But I might be wrong. Because over the years, I was appalled at how much ESPN and Colin Cowherd just talk NBA, NBA, and NBA. Just all the time. NBA, NBA, and more NBA. And no baseball talk. And then last year it became a huge story because nobody was watching the NBA in the playoffs with Oklahoma City and Indiana in the finals, even though it went to 7 games. But right now, Victor Wembanyama is a superstar, and he might end up in the discussion when all is said and done with Kareem and Bill Russell and Shaq as one of the greatest big men to ever play. Who knows? Maybe Wembanyama enters the Jordan and LeBron discussion. And this Western Conference final, it's real basketball. That's a real team he's playing, the defending champs with the 2-time MVP. And the Knicks, I usually push back on because I feel like ESPN promotes the Knicks too much because everybody that works at ESPN roots for the Knicks and every executive at ESPN roots for the Knicks. And I don't think America cares that much about the Knicks. But if you can get the Knicks in the NBA Finals with Jalen Brunson playing Victor Wembanyama in the Spurs, that might bring basketball back. As I've said, I find it disingenuous when TV talks NBA, 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 NBA. Because, again, I think Major League Baseball, look at the TV ratings. Major League Baseball is just as popular as the NBA, if not more popular. And yet, ESPN and Cowherd don't sit there and talk baseball, baseball, baseball. In fact, they never talk baseball. They'll do whatever they can to not talk baseball. They just shove the NBA down our throats. It'll be the NFL playoffs. And they'll be like, Stephen A., the Lakers beat the Hawks last night. LeBron had 13. Is he done? I'm like, oh, dear God. Here, when they talk basketball during the regular season like that, click. And I loved basketball. Jordan and Ewing and Barkley and Karl Malone and Reggie Miller and all those great players. And then Kobe and Kevin Garnett and Shaq and that great Sacramento series between the Lakers and the Kings that apparently Tim Donaghy rigged. And Allen Iverson. I was a big Tracy McGrady fan back in the day. Tim Duncan. And then LeBron and the super team started, and I just kind of lost interest. And now I'm thinking, the way the last 2 nights have gone, basketball might be back. And that is without me who, again, is not Mr. Basketball over here. That is without me watching the game last night because I turned it off in the fourth quarter. Okay, with that, it is time now to welcome in someone I've wanted to have on the show for a while. Chad Withrow from Outkick joins us here on the Stillman and Company program. First of all, Chad, good to talk to you. And I want to start with this. I'll start with the latest take I had here, but then we'll get back into kind of the whole rundown. Do you think the NBA is back? I know you like basketball. I know that you've been, like me and the rest of America, kind of turned off by the NBA. But do you think with Wembanyama in San Antonio and the Knicks doing that, do you think it might be back?
Hell no. Because every other game is a 45-point blowout in the NBA playoffs so far. I have seen more 40 to 60-point games in the NBA playoffs this year than ever before. Now, those first two games of this conference finals were awesome. Like, we may have something now with these two series where they could be really good, Jared, and I think it could help. But no, I don't think it's back at all. I was listening to your take about, Major League Baseball and where it fits and everything else. I think NBC helps. I think just hearing that music on NBC during the week in prime time, I think helps the profile of the sport. And I was locked into those overtimes in that Spurs Thunder game like everybody else. But no, I don't think it's back. I just think we need more of this. Like, it's a good start. Wemby having that game and feeling disrespected by SGA and him winning the MVP and all that. I think that's a good throwback to a previous era where the NBA was it, but we are nowhere close to being all the way back yet. But it's a good start.
Okay, number two, Vrabel and Russini, do you think the story is over? Because I am starting to feel like the public interest is dying down. Now, look, if it comes out that that's Vrabel's kid, then that will bring it all right back. If the Patriots start off 1-3, I think that may bring it back. But the fact that nobody cares about the Daily Mail story and the New York Post story of Diana and her husband kissing each other and then them hanging out the Bruce Springsteen concert, nobody cares. I think the story might be over. Chad, your thoughts?
I think it's over until the Patriots start playing football again. I think then it's going to be about, okay, how much are they going to talk about it? Are they going to talk about it? Is Mike Vrabel, once he's talking to the media again regularly, is he going to be asked about it more? Are we going to be getting weekly updates from New England media asking how his family's doing, where he's going to have to deflect and say he's only there to talk about the Cincinnati game or whoever's coming up for the Patriots? I really do think, Jared, we're probably done because nothing now could shock us on that other than some sort of daddy reveal that you mentioned. Everything else would be just playing into everything we already know. So, no, I think the story's probably over until the season gets here. There's a lot of people who are very happy about that because we saw a lot of media members really not wanting to talk about it. So the quicker that thing could die down, the better for all of them.
Okay. Kevin Byard came out and said that Mike Vrabel's the same old guy he's always been coaching the team as far as the offseason program is concerned. Now, a couple weeks ago, Albert Breer said that in the first 2 weeks of this scandal, he was not the same guy, not the same bravado, not the same attitude, walking around the building. Do you buy what Kevin Byard is saying, that Vrabel will be the same old coach that he was, or do you think that this will have a Bobby Petrino-like effect on him?
I've thought a lot about that because I do think that when he had that pre-draft press conference, he was different. There was a different demeanor. It was Mike Vrabel humbled for the first time maybe in his entire life. The way he talked about falling short. Now, he didn't outright admit anything or say anything groundbreaking. But, Jared, you've been around Mike Vrabel a lot, and you know the bravado. You know how he's not only got to be the smartest guy in the room, he's got to be the strongest, he's got to be the biggest, he's got to be the alpha of all alpha males in every room he enters. That was the first time I saw Mike Vrabel smaller than I've seen him before, was in that press conference. So I do think that has to permeate your coaching style in some way. I don't think that completely goes away. I'll also say if he's lost his family with all of this, if his kids aren't talking to him and his wife divorces him and all that, he's just going to double down. We're going to hit a sixth gear of alpha male Mike Vrabel when he doesn't have a family to worry about at all at home. So I don't think ultimately it's going to change him that much. I think he's been humbled in this moment. I think it's changed his demeanor right now. But do I think it changes him as an NFL coach moving forward? Probably not, especially if he ends up divorced.
James Palmer came out today on Kay Adams' show, and he said that Howie Roseman is shopping A.J. Brown, not just to the Patriots, but shopping A.J. Brown around the league. Now, I don't know who has $27 million in cash that they would, be able to spend that they haven't already budgeted and used. But if that's the case, can the Eagles, because this deal's not done yet, can the Eagles take advantage of the situation? It feels like Vrabel has to have A.J. Brown. If he doesn't have A.J. Brown, then maybe that brings some of this story back up that he got distracted or that they got played or whatever. Do you think Howie Roseman is looking at this as far as A.J. is concerned? And do you think he'll be able to extract more out of the Patriots or send A.J. somewhere else that would then kind of bring back Vrabel's focus and that discussion?
Yeah, I really think that the Eagles are going to win in this trade. Unlike the Titans when they traded away A.J. Brown, I think they're going to end up being the winner because I do think that they're going to get a bigger price for A.J. Brown the longer this goes on and the way that he's being shopped. And I do think that the Patriots are a bit desperate, so they're going to give up more than they want. It's going to be one of those moves that I think it looks like it's a win for the Patriots immediately, but then by year two, you start to see with whatever the Eagles get in return that the Eagles won also. And I think ultimately long-term, the Eagles are going to win in this deal because what do we know about A.J. Brown? Dude's going to show up. He's going to ball out. He's going to be great in the beginning. He's going to be like Mike Vrabel, the alpha of all alphas in that wide receiver room. And then he's going to get pissed off at the quarterback or the offensive coordinator or someone along the way, and his attitude and demeanor is going to turn south quickly. And then while he's going to have spurts of being A.J. Brown, alpha male, going out and going up and getting the football at all costs, he's also going to live in that world of being down on whoever he's down on at the time. That's who A.J. Brown is. If you're giving him everything that he wants, he's going to be a great alpha receiver for you. If he's not, then he's a problem in your locker room. He's a problem for the organization. He's going to end up being that way for wherever he goes. I think the whole thing is how long can you keep good A.J. Brown? Is it a season? Is it a season and a half? Is it 2 seasons? If you can get 2 seasons of good A.J. Brown with good attitude, that's a huge win for the Patriots or whoever's acquire him. But, Jared, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to get about a season in, and early in season 2 it's going to go south. And we're going to see more of what we've seen with the Eagles, and it's going to be a bad fit.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a hypothetical, which may not be fair because I've got a rule that I don't get anybody in trouble for something they haven't done. New England's schedule at Seattle, Pittsburgh at home, at Jacksonville, at Buffalo. Last year they had that cupcake schedule, and they freaking wrote it. This year, not so much. Let's say they start 1-3 or 0-4. Then what is the commentary surrounding the team, Vrabel, and the scandal?
So I think it's twofold. One, the commentary around the scandal is, oh my goodness, that really affected this team. And we really downplayed this. I know you haven't downplayed it, but we really downplayed the effect this could have on this team and this organization because of the distraction that it caused. And I think the other reaction is, but Drake May's not very good. Dianna Russini's pick for MVP a year ago may be more of what we saw in the Super Bowl and not what we saw for large stretches of the season a year ago against bad competition. So I think that's really, it's going to come down to that. If it goes south and they start out bad with a difficult schedule, it's going to be Vrabel's situation was a distraction. This is not going to end well in New England. And it's also going to fall on the shoulders of Drake May. I think the 2 guys who stand to lose the most with a bad start, it's going to be Mike Vrabel and it's going to be the quarterback. And everyone's going to start to question how good Drake May is. Dianna Russini might be somewhere still defending her MVP pick of Drake May, but I think everyone else is going to say, this guy is not the chosen one. He's not the next Brady.
Okay, I want to go down to the Diana side of this. What do you make of the New York Post Mother's Day kissy-kissy photos with Kevin Goldschmidt? And what do you make of the Daily Mail, the photos of Diana and her friends and Kevin Goldschmidt pre-gaming before the Bruce Springsteen concert at MSG? Do you buy that they're getting back together? And after everything she has said about this man, what the fuck?
So, yeah, I think that they are probably going to stay together based on those photos. I don't think it's a plant. I don't think it's some long con going on. I think they're going to stay together. The only thing, Jared, that I can imagine that she has been selling to the husband is You knew when you married me, my job requires me, to work up a little elbow grease, to get a little bit dirty at times, to befriend coaches and players and to party with them. And we've talked about it, and we do this and that. And it got carried away. In this instance, I had a great source, and it got carried away. And for that, I am forever sorry about it. And let's move forward, because I really love you and I love this family and I want to keep the kids together and all of that. I think that's the Hail Mary sales pitch for Dianna Russini. It's kind of like the Mike Vrabel thing where he's like, I'm admitting that I didn't meet my own standard, but I'm not going to tell you how I didn't meet my own standard. I don't think she needs to go into detail on the relationship with Mike Vrabel. And if forced to, she might have to with her husband in counseling. But I don't think she's going to do that. So I really think that's probably the sales pitch to the husband is, I work in a dirty business. It requires me to be close to a lot of men in sports that are a certain way, and I let it get away from me, and I'm sorry to the family, and let's try to work this out. And, if he decided to do so, then, more power to him. I think, look, I do think that everybody's going to crush the guy and be like, oh, you lack courage and you allowed this to happen. And, you're that. I mean, there is some honor in forgiving someone and trying to move forward. So I really don't want to lose sight of that personally, especially with the family. So if he's willing to do that, then hey, more power to him. I wish the best for him.
Okay, in that regard, though, I will ask you this, which is, did you hear my theory of three? The three possibilities with this? No,
I've not. But I'm dying to hear this theory.
Possibility number one, he's taking her back or trying to take her back because the kids, and she said she was sorry, and I want to make it work. And I would say, to sum that up, he takes her back because he's a bitch. Because I could not take somebody back after that.
Yeah.
Number two, he's one of those guys that's into either watching his wife with other guys, or he's into hearing the stories about his wife with other guys. I did a Google search on the show, Chad. Apparently, according to Business Insider, 45% of men are into cuckolding. I am not.
It's a thing. It's definitely a psychological thing that is a possibility. There's no doubt. You may be onto something.
And then the third possibility is that it's fake. It's one of those three, and I don't know which one it is.
I just don't know what's the motivation to make it fake. Like, what if you're him? Why are you allowing to go on with the charade and be like, hey, make me look good by getting a photograph together before the Bruce concert and give me a kiss on the cheek on Mother's Day? Like, I don't. Again, if he left her, if they're not together, there is no motivation for that guy to do that. So I do think that I'm going to scratch that from the record. Your third option is not possible. That's not a thing. It's one of the first two. It's one of the first two. And you say he's weak for doing it. That's fine. I totally get that standpoint. I don't know why he's doing it, but he may have forgiven and forgotten. Or the option two is that he's one of the 45% of men that you outlined, which is also a strong possibility.
I want to play you a cut of something that Ian Rappaport said. This was on the Between the Tackles podcast, and he was asked about the Vrabel-Russini thing. Chad Withrow, here's what Ian Rappaport said.
What was your reaction about the entire story, generally speaking?
Watching it play out in public has been really sad. Like, I've seen this in other walks of life and in other sort of like celebrities or important people. I've never really seen it with people that I know, and it's really different and like not good and sad and just like all around. Like, it's just, whatever happened, the sort of media onslaught. And to be honest, I don't blame the media. I really don't, because the public thirst is there. So like, the media is just the person. They're not getting people interested. People are already interested. They're feeding the beast. Like, that happens in our world. But watching it play out in public has been much sadder than I ever anticipated. I would not wish anybody on any level to go through anything like everyone involved in this is going through.
Chad, what's your reaction to that? And do you have the same sympathy that Ian Rappaport has?
I mean, I don't know if it's sympathy, but like, I think any human who's ever made any mistake in their life could show some empathy and say like, boy, if on my worst day or my worst 6 months or my worst 2 years or 3 years or whatever it is that Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel were going through together. They said that for the whole world to see it and it be public knowledge and kids to know about it and everything else, like, yeah, it sucks. I mean, I think what Ian Rappaport said is 100% correct. Like, it doesn't mean that, we need to throw a pity party and treat them both like they're dying of terminal cancer or that they have Lou Gehrig's disease. But yeah, it sucks. I mean, he just stated the obvious to me. Like, I think anybody can look at that and say, boy, it really is not fun to be them right now going through this, whether it be their own decisions, which it was, their own bad decisions, which it was. But yeah, I mean, I totally understand what he's saying. I also don't want to see it turned into, some ESPN 30 for 30 that's like a sob story about the two of them, right? Like there's two different extremes on this, and I think people kind of gravitate towards one or the other. But I'm looking at it right down the middle and saying, yeah, if you're Dianna Russini and you're Mike Vrabel and you're their spouses and you're their kids and you're their family and friends, it sucks. There's a plain and simple. It sucks to be them and everyone around them right now.
I don't have any sympathy. And here's why I don't have any sympathy. They did this. They did it. They had the affair. They lied about it. They did this. I didn't do this. Nobody else did this. And I don't think Ian Rappaport ever sat there when it came to Ray Rice and said, I know Ray Rice's career is over, but I just feel really bad for Ray Rice that he had to go through this. I don't think anybody said that.
No, but look, I think there's two different things here. Like, no one should make you feel bad for talking about it. That is stupid. And Rappaport even said, I don't blame the media. The media is doing their job. The public wants this. They have an appetite for it. They do. So we should be talking about it. I do blame media that doesn't talk about it because that's their job, is to talk about it. Our job is to talk about uncomfortable things at times. So we should be talking about this. But there are two different things. There's talking about it when you should, and there's taking great glee and delight in the downfall of the two of them, right? That sounds like what you're doing. Like, you sound very happy to talk about it and take delight in exposing these two losers for this. I'm not here to judge on that, by the way. Like, I think a lot of people take a lot of delight in talking about this story because either they don't like Dianna Russini, they feel like she got an upper hand. Hell, we had Chrissy Freud on the show who said that she knows for a fact that Dianna Russini's done this with other coaches and other players. Didn't specify which ones, but claims to know this. She's thrilled that she's been exposed in all this because she feels like her opportunities they've been cost because of what Dianna Russini has done. So, look, man, I get it. Like, if you don't like these two, you're loving this whole story. I think everybody should be talking about it. I think you're a coward if you don't, even if you're friends with them. I also think that it sucks to be them right now. Like, just the definition of it sucks to be in this situation. They created it. They made their bed literally and figuratively. They lay down in it, and they're living with the consequences now.
Chad Withrow with us. Your reaction to Nashville being awarded the Super Bowl in 2030
We're not going to talk Titans radio on here, huh? That's what I
we will get to that
about.
for sure.
Okay, good. I thought that was on the docket. It was inevitable. I mean, ever since the draft, and we were all around it, we knew that Nashville was going to get a Super Bowl the moment they had a stadium that could support a Super Bowl and having an indoor stadium. So with the stadium coming, not surprising at all. Nashville's going to do a great job. Media members are going to swoon over the city. They're going to go nuts over the walking distance down to the convention center for Radio Row and Streaming Row and all of that. So, yeah, I think it's a win. The city of Nashville is going to love it. People that come here are going to love it. I'm not surprised at all. I am surprised that Amy Adams Strunk didn't speak at the press conference for it. I mean, at this point, I feel like Titans Amy, who's now unemployed, would be a better fit for owner of the Titans than Amy Strunk. There's a better Amy involved with the Titans, and it's Titans Amy and not her. That part disappoints me, especially for such a big moment for the city of Nashville and the Titans organization. But I'm not surprised at all with the selection of Nashville, and I think Nashville's going to do a great job.
Okay, you want to go there? I have no problem with you going there. Ramon Foster as the lead analyst on Titans Radio, your thoughts?
So I tweeted about this, and people, I don't think, fully comprehended what I'm saying. full disclosure, I like Ramon, okay? Personally, I like the guy a lot. I gave him an endorsement to get hired by 104.5 The Zone. When he got hired, we were looking for a new host. I said, hey, this guy's recently retired. He was doing a players podcast while he was there. He did work with radio there. I think he's going to be really good and do a good job. I think two things can be true, at once. Like, that's great. He got offered a job. My understanding is he got offered a lot of money for that job, and he got offered maybe even more than he was making as the color commentator with the Tennessee Vols. So he decided to take that job. I'm not going to fault Ramon Foster for getting offered a gig and taking that gig. I am going to fault the Tennessee Titans, though, for further falling out of good graces with their own fan base. It is an organization that for the last 5 years has made decisions that is antithetical to what their diehard fans want or what their diehard fans expect. They don't care about you, Jared. They don't care about you growing up with your dad watching Titans games on TV. They don't care about you going to Vanderbilt Stadium to watching games. They don't care about you following the team when they move to Memphis. This is the message repeatedly given by that organization. We don't give a damn about you, long-term fan that grew up in Shelbyville, that would drive over to games when the team wasn't any good. They don't care about that. They want everyone that's new to this market in this city. And it's really kind of a marriage of convenience. They know Ramon. They like him. They've worked with him before. So they don't care that he didn't play or coach for the Titans. That's fine. This is not anything that's anti-Ramon Foster. He has every right to take that job. I just feel like if you are like me and you feel like the Titans don't care about you, the long-term fan, blame the Titans. Don't blame Ramon. It's not a Ramon problem. I do have a question with Ramon Foster leaving the Vol Network, his actual alma mater, after a year. No one's really talking about that. Like, really? Like Mike Keith, he gets that job there and he leaves after a year. I was shocked by that. I thought he had worked out some deal where he was going to be able to travel and do both on Saturday and Sunday, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So that did surprise me because I know Ramon and he loves his Vols, and he is a diehard Vol through and through. So that part did surprise me a little bit. But again, I'm not mad at Ramon Foster. I'm sure he'll do a fine job on the broadcast.
I don't know about that.
I don't get it from a Titans perspective.
I think he kind of stinks on the Vol broadcast.
I don't get it from a Titans perspective, honestly. Just overall, I don't understand the thinking other than we know him and we like him.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think it's that, and I think 104.5 probably pushed for it because he's on their station. And I think that the people that make these decisions at the Titans are so stupid and so incompetent that they sit there and they say to themselves, I mean, why wouldn't this make any sense? I don't know, because he played for the Steelers? Like, because he's not a Titan?
They clearly didn't workshop that with people like us, right? Like, they weren't going to the fan, like, hey, let's get some key fan people here or long-term Nashvillians and talk about the possible issues with that. I feel like they didn't do any of that.
Well, to your point that you made earlier about how they don't care about people like me that have been rooting for the Titans since day one. I mean, today they have the press conference to announce the Super Bowl, and Eric Church is there, and Jim Wyatt's tweeting out like, Eric Church! Oh, Eric Church is there. And I'm like, who gives a fuck about Eric Church? You don't have a center or a right guard. Your quarterback was dead last year in QBR. And yet everything from them and is like, Eric Church! Ah! And I'm just like, what? I mean, again, I have a hard time with the whole Chad Brinker thing because Chad Brinker got fired and they lied about it. And Kuharsky, now he's kind of retracting what he said this morning. He's saying he didn't say that he got fired, but he said he got fired. And nobody reported it, but it's like every year they change who's in charge of the team. I mean, I believe if it wasn't for Chad Brinker, I think Mike Keith is still calling the games. And so I'm like, man, this organization does everything wrong. They're all caught up with Eric Church being at a press conference.
Isn't Eric Church a Panthers fan?
I don't know.
He's a big Carolina guy. Like, I feel like he's been in Panthers gear before and has done stuff with the Panthers organization. I know he's a big UNC guy. Gave a great commencement address to UNC this year. I did love his commencement speech there. I like Eric Church. I like his music. I'm with you. Like, there are so many celebrities in Nashville and so many people that could be chosen. Like, let's stop gushing over Eric Church being there. The moment Taylor Zarzer went and did some podcast interview with Eric Church, I was like, oh boy, Eric Church is going to be a part of this Super Bowl announcement. He's got something to do with this the moment I saw that. And look, I'm a Titans fan. I want what's best for the team. I want what's best for the city. There is a way to do this by accepting new fans that are moving here while not turning away the old fans that have been with it from the beginning. And Titans just went from Mike Keith and Coach Mack to Taylor Zarzour and Ramon Foster. And I just don't think that if you're a Titans fan and you don't like that, I get it. Like, I totally understand. I'll also say, whoever was going to take over for Coach Mack, if it wasn't Jeff Fisher, who hired him as a Titans coach, it was not going to be received well. There was going to be blowback to whoever got it, but there's less blowback if it's a Titans player or coach, right?
There wouldn't have been
way
any
less
blowback
blowback
on Bullock. Bullock would have been.
I'm with you because they were good buddies too. And he was close with Coach Mack. I think that's the one that everyone would have been okay with. And again, like, this job, you said you don't think Ramon did a good job on the Vol broadcast. Okay, fine. I don't think that matters as much anymore, as you just have to be a good ambassador for that team. Like, your technical acumen on a broadcast, no one's listening to the radio broadcast these games. I mean, you play once a week. Are we really going to go get the radio out and get the antenna up or put headset? We're watching the games. Like, that's the biggest myth out there. No one is listening to football broadcasts anymore. They're watching the games. So what is the main purpose of the job? It is to be an ambassador and to be a salesman to that fan base and for that organization and for that market and city. And to do that, most people, most organizations, what do? They go and get a well-loved former player or coach to go be in that spot. It's a sales job. It is not a broadcasting job.
I was driving this weekend, and I was listening to the Blue Jays and Tigers on MLB Network Radio, and Tom Hart was doing the game. And Tom Hart's a good broadcaster, and Tim Kirchin was doing the color. And I'm listening to them talk, and they were great. But I'm like, guys, what's the fucking score?
Yeah,
That's people that are listening on the radio just want to know. Like, they just got in the car and they want to know. The idea of, like, that's a trap block right there, and if you see right here, we have a little this, and on this one it'll be it'll go through in this way. And so I'm with you. I think the Titans, by the way, are going to hire a third person for the booth because I think the blowback is going to be so strong. So I think that it'll be Ramon Foster and Jason McCourty on the weeks that he's not working.
Or they're gonna hire a new sideline reporter that's going to be a player. I'm going to put money down on that happening. The third member is going to be on the field.
So Ramon Foster's new job is going to cost Will Bowling his job.
I don't know that that's there's a direct 1 + 1 = 2 on that, but I think there's a chance there could be some reshuffling of the deck. That could mean also that Will Bowling is doing something else on air. Let me just put it that way.
How about this? Ryan Porth just.
I'm not reporting that, by the way. This is not me like reporting or not reporting anything. I'm just giving you my best educated guess as to what the Titans and that radio station might do.
Chad, I got to cut you off because Ryan Porth just texted me this from apparently, according to Mark Stein, Jerry Stackhouse has emerged as a candidate to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. Great job, Bulls.
I mean, the fact that you're even considering Jerry Stackhouse is enough for me to say fire everybody. Jerry Stackhouse, he did some show, I think it was with Jim Rome, and he was asked about, the North Carolina job and how he didn't get it, and he was like, well, just look at my resume. I'm like, you have a resume. You coached college and you stink. Like, you have been a head coach. You stink. You got into it with Joe Rexrode, who wrote a puff piece on you in The Athletic. You think you're going to handle the Chicago media? Jerry Stackhouse?
I need to find a way. Like, Jerry Stackhouse needs to write a tutorial, and some other coaches too that are really bad at their jobs that somehow remain on the right side of the media, that the media and fellow coaches still talk about them, because I don't think Jerry Stackhouse is the nicest guy. I mean, you just brought up one, and so it wasn't like he was warm and fuzzy to deal with locally, or, it's not like, oh, well, he's such a nice guy, he gets the benefit of the doubt. I never felt that way about Jerry Stackhouse yet. There are think pieces about how he needs a shot as an NBA coach, and Rick Barnes talked about how they ran more complicated stuff than any team in the SEC. It's not just media. It's coaches, everyone. They speak so highly of Jerry Stackhouse. Wouldn't you like to just push a button, Jared, and have that power with like media where everyone, like Dianna Russini, where everyone just loves you and like says, boy, this person is just the best at their job. Let's all agree upon this. In a world, in a country where no one agrees on anything, let's all agree that Jared Stillman is great at his job. And Jared Stillman needs every opportunity in the world. I would love to know how that happens. And I don't think it's always exactly what the person is doing that warrants that. But there's some magic, something pixie dust in the ether that allows for certain people to remain on the right side of all influencers and media and fellow coaches and everything. And I do not understand it, but God bless him for making that happen.
Jerry Stackhouse. I can't believe it. Chad Withrow from Outkick. Chad, it is always good to talk to you. And we will talk very, very soon, I bet.
Fun times, Jared. Let's chat soon.
Yep, Chad Withrow joining us on the program. Again, Porth I'm glad I got Chad's reaction. Jerry Stackhouse. So this is CHGO Bulls. So at CHGO_Bulls. Report. Jerry Stackhouse has emerged as a candidate to be the next Chicago Bulls head coach per Mark Stein. Can I just say this? I have no idea. I know he's an assistant coach in Golden State. I don't know what he does or what he doesn't do. Golden State doesn't win any more games, but that's because Steph and Draymond are old. Jerry Stackhouse was a complete and total train wreck as the head coach at Vanderbilt. And while college basketball is different than pro basketball, I am convinced Jerry Stackhouse can't coach that either. Because Jerry Stackhouse, when he was the head coach at Vanderbilt, was terrible when it came to the media and terrible when it came to the fans. He blocked everybody that said anything negative about Vanderbilt basketball. I'm sorry. But if you can't handle Vanderbilt fans, you absolutely cannot handle the Chicago Bulls. And yet, I kind of hope they do hire Jerry Stackhouse just so I can sit there and laugh my ass off the same way I laughed my ass off when he was the head coach at Vanderbilt. Is it not telling that Jerry Stackhouse had the job for 6 years and didn't make the NCAA tournament? And that Jerry Stackhouse, as soon as he left, the next guy comes in, Mark Byington, who nobody had ever heard of from James Madison, and they're in the NCAA tournament and they're winning NCAA tournament games? Again, a nobody that nobody had heard of, and I mean that with all due respect to Mark Byington because I think he's a good coach, but he's a better coach than Jerry Stackhouse. And TDG says the NBA is totally different. I agree, but an incompetent coach is an incompetent coach. And Jerry Stackhouse is a very, very accomplished player who has always had a higher inflated sense of self than he should actually value him. He did that as a player. He thought he was better than Kobe Bryant. Jerry Stackhouse does not know how to coach. He does not know how to be a head coach. And the Chicago Bulls are considering hiring Jerry Stackhouse? You can't do that. Just, I ask you this, with the exception of Joe Rexrode, who for some reason he was always in the pocket of Jerry Stackhouse, even though Joe wrote a puff piece on Jerry Stackhouse. And then Jerry Stackhouse got mad at it and took it out on Joe, even though it was a very pro Jerry Stackhouse piece. Call somebody from Nashville and ask, do you think Jerry Stackhouse can coach the Chicago Bulls? You're going to go from Billy Donovan to Jerry Stackhouse. Holy crap. This is an organization that had Phil Jackson as their head coach. And they're going to go with Jerry Stackhouse? Again, they haven't hired Jerry Stackhouse, but Mark Stein's reporting, according to the tweet that Porth sent me, Mark Stein saying that he's in the mix. Jerry Stackhouse. Like and subscribe. That'll do it for us, Stillman and Company. We'll see everybody tomorrow right here at 2 o'clock.